You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 240 of Podketeers. It has been a hectic week. I've been sick, my computer died, and I haven't been able to get much work done because of it. I am feeling much better today, but we did miss a birthday shout out because of my computer problems. So Lindsay, I'm sorry we weren't able to post anything for you on Instagram, but we hope you had a very happy birthday. This week our talk about Tomorrowland continues, and Melissa gives us some background on Space Mountain. We also talk about Lee Unkrich announcing that he's leaving Pixar, and the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Remember that if you'd like to join the conversation, you can leave us a comment on the blog post for the episode over at podketeers.com/240, or by connecting with us on Facebook, Instagram, or on Twitter. Just search for Podketeers. Before we start the episode, I'd like to take a moment to offer our thanks and send a huge shout out to the members of the FGP Squad for their help and support in helping make these episodes of Podketeers possible via their contributions on Patreon. If you like what you hear and you'd like to become one of our podcast Fairy Godparents, you can get more information by heading over to podketeers.com/FGP. The next time you need to purchase something on Amazon, you can help us out tremendously by starting off at podketeers.com/Amazon. On that page, you'll find a huge Amazon button that will take you to Amazon using our special referral link, and anything that you buy may earn us a small commission as a thank you from Amazon for mentioning them on this podcast. To everyone taking a few extra seconds to help us out, thank you very much for that support. Thanks for spending some time with us. Again, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We hope you like what you hear and that you come back for more. Here is episode 240 of Podketeers.
Timer's going and everything. It's real.
Nice. You guys are getting the semi-coherent Heyzen right now. You guys are also getting the Heyzen that can breathe slightly better. You're also getting the Heyzen that has been drinking tea and his throat is starting to clear up. So hopefully as we go through this episode, the tea will continue to function and I will sound better and better.
It sounds like we're also getting 1970s diner waitress Heyzen.
Well, look, here's the thing.
What do you have, doll?
I was really hoping that I would be able to grab a guitar and this would be like my smelly cat phase. So I'd be like, smelly cat. And then I could just make a ton of money off of that. But, I mean, we'll see how this lasts. We'll see how long it lasts. And if I drink the tea, it seems to soothe my throat and then I'm okay for a little bit. But the more that I talk, because, I mean, Heyzen doesn't talk a lot. We all know that. I never talk a lot. So as long as I don't talk a lot, I'll be okay.
Yeah, that.
That being said, let's talk for an hour.
He's going to spit on his tea, don't you?
I almost spit it on the microphone. So it's been a crazy weekend. My youngest son has been sick for about a week, and I've been dodging it, doing my best not to get sick, because we had so many birthday parties to go to this last weekend. I mean, it was my son's and my dad's and my goddaughters and our friends' two daughters. The weekend was just packed full of stuff to do. And as a courtesy to the parents with all the children at the parties that we were supposed to go to, the night before, we ultimately decided that I should stay home with our youngest so that we don't infect the other children and they can all just, spend their time having fun and not have angry parents, at us primarily for taking our sick kids. Obviously, our son was a little bummed out because he knew there was going to be this birthday party and it was at this cool jumping place where they have all those bouncy houses and stuff like that.
Aww.
And so he was a little bummed out, but it happened to coincide that Saturday was also this kind of mini Pokemon community day thing where they had a special event to catch a shiny. It's called a Phoebus. It's one of the Pokemon. Gavin's shaking his head.
What?
And don't worry about it. I'm almost done, Gavin. So the
How
point
did you trick me into getting a Pokemon discussion going again?
You're welcome, sir. So there was this Pokemon event, and so I asked them, hey, I know we're home by ourselves. Do you want to go grab some food? We'll go grab McDonald's or something, and then we'll go out and walk around for Pokemon Community Day. And he was super psyched about it, and at least walking around, we didn't have to worry about being sick or anything. We're walking down the street, just kind of up and down the block, just collecting Pokemon and stuff. And he had a blast. We walked around for about 3 hours, and he was super psyched about it. I caught 2 shiny Phoebus in the process.
Nice.
So, super psyched about it. Now, look, Gavin, you're mocking me.
No,
in the
I'm
words of Buzz
excited
Lightyear,
for you.
You're mocking me. I know you are. But you don't understand how special it is to have this shiny Phoebus. At least to me. Especially considering that when I went out, I had a fever. And so I'm walking around the street with my kid with a fever just to make sure that he had some fun on Saturday.
Wow.
So yeah.
Amazing.
It was kind of crummy because I did want to go check out Mickey's new show. I saw some people posting pictures and some video on Instagram about it, and I was super excited. And then I just felt so bad by Friday night that I just thought, okay, I can crawl out of this. Let's do it. I couldn't. In trying to balance what was going on, and then just trying not to fall over, I didn't get a chance to go.
Aww.
I haven't seen it yet either. Have you seen it, Melissa?
I haven't. Yeah, I'm going this coming weekend, finally.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I hope I'm feeling better by then, so that I can head down there. Lynette's been really wanting to go as well. And just with everything going on. And to top it all off, Microsoft screwed me again this weekend.
Darn Microsoft.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Oh, I don't even know how to feel about Microsoft anymore. The fact that over the last year, Windows 10 updates have essentially killed my computer to the point of no return. I don't want a Mac. And I know people will argue, oh, but Macs don't run into these issues. Get yourself a Mac, MacBook Pro. It's like, well, to all the people that are saying that, buy me one. And then I will use it. Bottom line, it is an expensive computer that I just do not have the money for.
That's why I have a Dell.
If that is your mentality, buy me one. But yeah, I hate the fact that now in Windows 10, it just forces you to do these updates. And I understand that their security updates are important, but don't force people to do them. I don't do stuff on my computer where I need to be updating this all the time. When I had Windows 7, I never ran into any problems. And then
there was hardly any updates.
I know. And then I got Windows 8, and that was a bleepy bleep and a half. And then I got Windows 10, and then Windows 10 for the most part has been fairly good, except for the 4 times that my computer has gone to... I'm getting angry. I need to take a breath.
Oh, I feel your pain. Because I seriously go through the same thing, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Especially while recording. It's like in the middle. Boop, you need to update. You're like, no.
I just don't like the fact that you can't turn them off. The fact that you just tell them to not do it for 30 days versus just shutting it off completely is one of the most insane decisions that Microsoft has ever done. And if somebody from Microsoft is listening, stop it. You stop it right now.
Please.
Bad Microsoft. Bad.
Seriously. I'm going to grab a newspaper and be like, you see what you did? You see what you did? Bad Microsoft. Just rub their
Microsoft's nose in it.
Yeah.
No newspaper. You bring out the chancla and you threaten it.
Okay, wait. You got to tell me what that is.
Okay, so it's pretty much a sandal. Remember in Coco where where the grandma was going after Miguel, and at the plaza, there was the mariachi guy. And she got mad because she thought the mariachi guy was going to have Miguel sing.
Mm-hmm.
And so she brought out her chancla, which is her shoe, and she threatened him with it. And he was like, whoa, okay, I'm backing off. Because that, growing up, that was real. You got to stop.
Growing up in the Mexican culture, if you heard, I'm grabbing the chancla, you knew it was going down.
So it's a Mexican paddle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But when those Mexican paddles were, I believe in America, they're called huaraches, according to the Beach Boys. They're huaraches handles. In Spanish, huaraches are basically chanclas. They're sandals, but they're made from leather and leather products. So if you were to get hit as a child with one of those, it's gonna sting quite a bit. So you would think twice about doing things if the threat of the chancla ever appeared.
Got it.
And look, I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast before, and if I have, please forgive me, but in my semi-stupor, have we ever talked about how when I first saw Coco at the theater, I remember her saying, now go get my chancla, but then by the time it was released on Blu-ray, she says, now go get my shoe?
She always said, go get my shoe.
Are you sure?
I think you just saw it and you translated it in your mind to the word you wanted it to be.
Oh my God, are you telling me I think in Spanish?
I think you do sometimes, yes. In very particular instances, yes.
That's funny. Well,
I don't believe it was ever that way in the theater. Now, when they released it in Mexico, it probably was.
Was it that you translated it to shoe?
I wouldn't have known how to translate it.
That's true.
But the visual would have helped.
I mean, I guess I could have, put it together via contextual clues.
I don't know.
I think she always said shoe.
I feel like this is one of those Mandela effect things where we may have seen and heard one thing, but it was technically something else. You guys know about the Mandela effect?
I don't think so.
Oh, man.
I think I've heard of it.
I want to say that we've talked about it like once before, or we've referenced it. Sorry. But the Mandela effect is essentially a false memory. It's like this psychological phenomenon that happens where people recall that something did or didn't happen a specific way. And that's kind of what I feel this whole chancla versus shoe thing is to me. It's like this weird Mandela effect.
Got it.
I mean, look, if anybody saw it at the movie theater and you guys remember that it was chancla versus shoe, please vouch for it and tell me that I'm not completely crazy. But if it's always been shoe, I mean,
to be fair, you saw it in Southern California. I saw it in Oklahoma. So in the Southern California version, it might have said chancla. But
maybe
in the Oklahoma version, it definitely did not. It said shoe.
So I'm hoping I didn't see the Oklahoma version. Hey, since we're on the topic, what do you guys think of this news that Lee Unkrich has decided to leave Pixar after a couple decades?
Yeah, it's interesting that so many now are leaving Pixar, it seems like. We talked about Catmull in a previous episode, and, obviously Lasseter was removed from his position at Pixar, but it seems like all of the old guard is kind of on its way out, and, they've been there for decades, so maybe it's just that it's that time in their careers when they think about moving on.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like things are changing at Pixar, and some of these people are like, well, if that's the direction Pixar's going, maybe I'm out, I don't know, because they're all passionate people. It's hard to believe that they're done at this point, because none of them, like Unkrich is not that old, especially in the realm of animation where people are going, like, look at Miyazaki and look at like some of the 9 Old Men that were animating so well after they got that Denny's special.
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
practically. I
Yeah.
was reading the article, and I like what it said about it. He's actually leaving on a high note, on a good note, to do some things with his family, do some side stuff. So to me, it kind of sounds like he's retiring, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But with his success with Coco, the only thing I'm going to miss is him on Twitter, where he, anything that had to do with Coco, he would post about. He was like, that was his baby and his
Nice.
pride and
Yeah.
joy. So in the article, I remember him saying, it's like not a bad thing leaving with all this success, all these accomplishments, especially with this last movie of his. So he's just like, hey, I'm good. I'm going to go live life with my family.
Yeah.
Kudos to him.
Yeah. Ed Catmull, I feel is a bit of a different story, because when you look back on Ed Catmull's career, like you said, Gavin, he's been in the game for so long. He was vice president of Industrial Light and Magic back in the 70s. Before they started shifting that production team over to Pixar, before Steve Jobs bought him out and all that, as the story goes. I mean, he's had a long career, and a lot of the technical know-how and a lot of the advancements that happened in RenderMan were because of Ed Catmull. We briefly mentioned this when we first announced that he was going to be retiring at the end of last year. But Lee is, he's a very, very talented director, and he's been at Pixar for so long, for so many blockbuster films, and that's, saying little, right? Because every film that Pixar has put out has essentially been a blockbuster, with the exception of Cars 2. With that said,
I got that jab.
Did you? Oh, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I did.
Sorry. Yeah, like you said, Melissa, it was nice to hear him saying that he was leaving on a high note. For all we know, this could be a preemptive thing, because maybe he doesn't like how some of the things are changing there as they continue to merge the animation studios, because it is moving into a culture where they're blurring the line more and more between Disney Animation and Pixar. And as the teams begin to kind of work with each other, I think we're going to get to a point where it's just all kind of going to be Disney Animation, and I'm hoping that some of the people that remain at Pixar keep the legacy and keep the essence of what's always made Pixar films so special. Because there's always that additional element to them that just, like we talk about, it just kind of kicks you in the feels super hard. And although Disney Animation does the same thing, it doesn't reach that level of intensity that a Pixar film can get you to. And that's what I really hope isn't lost. But they're in capable hands. With people, like with the people that are still running Pixar, Pete Docter's still there, and a lot of the other people that help build the company to what it is are going to continue there as far as we know. Yeah, congratulations to him for everything that he's accomplished. Thank you for all of the work that he's done and brought us, all the joy that he will continue to bring children and their children's children as we pass on these films for generations to come.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, though, that, not everybody that retires or leaves an institution decides to provide some sort of press release or article, interview, or something that explains, why.
Yeah.
And I do kind of have suspicions about there being some spin involved in this, because there's so much politics involved in the entertainment industry. Unfortunately, it's kind of the bad side of this. And so, considering the fact that Lasseter's gone and Catmull's gone, and, this is another person leaving, I don't know. I guess I take it all with a grain of salt. I hope that, he's as happy as can be and felt like he had a successful time at Pixar, and I hope he's happy in all of his future endeavors, because he's given me personally some fantastic films that I will always cherish, namely Coco. And it's all good. When I see something like this, it's like, well, I mean, you could have just like silently retired and nobody, people that are like super nerds about Pixar or people inside the industry would be like, oh, wow, Lee Unkrich retired. Yeah. 99% of the population has no idea who this guy even is. So making an announcement about it just seems a little weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's why I mentioned that it could have just been a preemptive strike, against what could have potentially been happening. And that's because of all the things that are happening with John Lasseter. He didn't want to get himself involved in the same kind of bundle of news where maybe he was planning this for months already or for a couple of years, and he reached the end of all the projects he was officially working on. This was it, but the press release was necessary so that people didn't think, oh, he's leaving because something happened. So maybe it was a preemptive strike. We don't know. I don't know the inner workings of Pixar. But like I said, or we've all echoed the same sentiment, that he's brought us hours of joy, and all the stuff that he's directed and helped produce is going to continue bringing joy to people for generations to come. So we have that to live with, and that's awesome.
Yep.
The art that was produced is something that we can cherish.
Yeah. I also want to throw in there that I hope Pixar and Disney animation don't meld into one. I think that competition, whether it be friendly or not, is good. And I still feel like they're two very distinct entities. I don't feel like I feel like I can identify a Disney from a Pixar within seconds, I still feel like they're really distinct entities. So I hope they don't end up being one big melting pot of animation, because first of all, I feel like we'll get less films that way, but also I like that they kind of try to push each other and one up each other,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's important.
That's a very good point. All right, well, since we're talking about studios, I just need to acknowledge the fact that we finally got a Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. And
yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Really?
I loved it. Huh. So there was a lot of stuff that I think people had already kind of released, and there was all these spoilers about what was going to be a part of the trailer. I think seeing it all together is really what I was excited about, because I was such a huge fan of Homecoming, and I was an even bigger fan of Into the Spider-Verse. So I'm excited to see what this next chapter brings for Spider-Man. And for me, that's great, because I've never been a huge Spider-Man fan. I know a lot of people out there, Spider-Man's like your dude, right? But I've never been a huge Spider-Man fan. The biggest thing that I was excited about listening or watching this trailer, believe it or not, was listening to the score in the trailer.
I totally believe it. Mm-hmm. You're a scores guy.
Yeah, dude. I love the score for Spider-Man. It was very distinct, and it fit him so well. Like, the soundtrack to Homecoming is just so well put together. The difference between this one and the last one is that the orchestral arrangement that they had for the Spider-Man theme this time around sounded like an Avengers theme to me. And it finally sounded like he was really like this entire piece of the MCU that was missing. And I know to most people that it just kind of felt like that with Homecoming, and because he appeared in Civil War, people already felt like, well, he's already a part of the MCU. But it felt like a fork into the MCU, right? Because it's still a Sony property, and because they're doing their own thing. This trailer really put me in a mindset of, wow, Spider-Man is really a part of this larger MCU now. And that music was just epic to me. I can't wait to hear the entire score and the entire soundtrack. I'm so jazzed about it.
We all know where I stand with superhero movies. I'm not going to rehash it.
And we know where you stand with trailers specifically as well.
Yeah, but what I will say is, for me, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gave me what I always want from superhero movies. So that's kind of the bar I'm looking for. And honestly, I don't know how many more superhero movies I'll watch that aren't animated. I don't believe they can live up to that. I really don't.
So then
I
why...
thought that was the perfect way to present superheroes.
So then why did you volunteer to watch every one and write a review for the website?
That did not happen. It was one of your delusional sick dreams.
Oh, was it? Oh, man, yes. I've been having a lot of those recently.
I mean, I could, but you don't want me to. You really don't.
That's funny. Yeah, Melissa, did you get a chance to see the trailer?
I did. And you know what? I'm a little afraid to admit I haven't seen Homecoming.
I'll tell you the truth. If you watch Into the Spider-Verse first, I would not be offended. Because that one was far superior.
But the trailer does look really, really good. And especially how you mentioned the movie, the score. It is different. It's stronger.
Yeah.
That's the way the best way to describe it. It is much stronger. So, yeah, it sounds like it's up there. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm probably gonna watch it late, but I will watch it.
Nice.
Can we just hear a little piece of what I'm talking about so you understand?
Yeah.
Please.
All right, let me see if I can get this.
I think Nick Fury just hijacked our summer vacation.
Awesome! You got gifts, Parker, but you have a job to do. Are you going to step up or not? You're all alone. Your friends are in trouble. What are you going to do about it?
You don't want any part of this.
But yes, the build.
It's just so good. It's just so good. Like, it's so strong and just so superhero-y. And there's
I like that it is based on the old TV show theme song.
Me too.
That's really cool that they did that way.
And can I just say, go Happy. I'm happy for you, buddy.
So wait, I did watch it, the trailer that is, a week ago, and I've basically forgotten it. But so the thing in this one is that is he in London? He goes to a different country, right?
Yeah, he's traveling with school.
Oh, okay.
The idea behind it is that he wants to leave Spider-Man behind. He just wants to be a teenager. He tries to leave his suit behind, and Aunt May packs the suit because you never know when you might need it. And he gets to, I think it's London when it happens. Stuff starts to go wrong, and all these things start appearing, and Nick Fury pays him a visit. And so he flips out because he knows who Nick Fury is, and he tells him, get some clothes, you're coming with me. And he's essentially on a Spider-Man mission now.
Nice.
So he's halfway across the globe on these Spider-Man missions. It looks really good too, because it looks like we're going to see variations of the Spider-Man suit where he's like in stealth mode, and just other variations that I'm sure will continue to have the Iron Man tech behind it, because Happy's there, which means that Happy must be providing new technology for Peter, which I'm excited about, because I just love what they did with the Spider-Man suit. I know that there's people out there that hate that part of it because they wanted to keep it as pure as possible, but I think the way that it weaved into the current MCU was really well done, at least in my opinion. And I really enjoy that part of the spider suit.
When does this movie come out?
When does it come out? It comes out...
I don't remember.
I tried to type in Spider-Man release into my phone, and I got Spy Dr. Foreman Rel Wa AE.
Well, I do want to ask about that too, but when does Spider-Man Far From Home come out?
Oh, man. It looks like it's being released July 5th, 2019.
Oh, man.
And I should have known that because
we got a long road of hype left.
Yeah.
We kind of spoke about this.
Yeah, when Skylar was on, we talked about the release dates for everything.
Yeah, we did. I just couldn't remember. So that's after Endgame, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's supposed to pick up right after Endgame. And that's part of why people are so upset, because they're saying, well, you basically just told us Spider-Man lives. You know, and you just told us that Nick Fury lives.
Obsessed with spoilers.
We don't know how it happens. That's the best part.
We don't.
We're going to learn.
We don't. Yeah. But people are upset now they know.
What they want less is for studios to never tell us what's coming out.
Right.
Like, that's what they're saying. Like, don't tell us what's coming out then. No, they would die without that information.
And if they didn't want to spoil, like, at least if they wanted to start teasing the next one after the release of this one, you know, this type of promotion starts a good 6 to 9 months before, sometimes a year, with minimal teaser trailers, if any. In order for things not to get spoiled, you'd essentially have to release movies a couple years between each other. And considering that Spider-Man and Endgame are happening so close together, you can't really prevent it, especially if you want to market both of them. The only thing that I
think that's the industry making their own timetables up, because, I mean, I don't feel like you have to market something 6 months out for it to be successful.
You don't think so?
Especially in a series like this, in a franchise like this, where, let's say, the first teaser for Spider-Man Far From Home, whatever it's called, happens in the end credits of Endgame, and that's the first time anybody sees it, and then it says, in 2 months. People would lose their ever-loving minds, right?
That's true.
That would be the best way to just blow this up and not have spoilers and, you know, not have to invest in months and months of trailer making, right?
Very true.
Like, just, they could save money and get better hype if they would just do it that way.
I hope you guys are listening.
Well, Lethy.
You're welcome, Marvel.
How many people would walk out with heart attacks? That's the only thing you could think of.
That's the best stay till the end ever.
Right?
You're right. That would be a really great way to market it. So when we make our movie, that's how we're going to market the second one. We're just going to wait to the end after the closing credits, and then we'll post the trailer and the teaser for the next film after. Mm-hmm. Sweet. Yep. I love it. I love that idea.
Yep.
All right. Well, if you guys haven't had a chance to see the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, head on over to the blog post at podketeers.com/240. You guys will have a chance to watch it there. If you guys have any thoughts about how you feel watching this trailer, because, I mean, I lost it mainly because of the music, but then I saw the different spider suits, because I've seen it like 19 times, okay? I know that may be excessive for most, but I had to, because then I have to catch every single little thing that's in the trailer, or else I don't know what's happening. So if you guys want to take a look, head over to the blog post, check it out, tell us how you guys feel about it, and we will talk about it in an upcoming episode. Hey, Gavin.
Yes, sir.
How is your Audible experience going?
Oh my gosh, it's going so well. I am enjoying every minute of it. I am still listening to the biography of Walt Disney by Gabler because it's epic. I think the total runtime is like 38 hours or something like that. So it's a lot of commutes, but that's good because that's what I got it for, is to help me pass the time during my commuting.
Nice.
And that to me is the best time to listen to Audible. Is, you know, you're cruising down the road, you got an hour drive, pop that in, listen to a chapter. It just make the miles go by so much quicker, especially when you're going 10 miles an hour on the 5. It's just, it passes the time a lot better.
You have to do something with those other 4 days of commutes after you're done with the 1 hour of Podketeers during one of those commutes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Wednesday mornings, everybody out there we know is listening to Podketeers. You look to the car to the right, to the car to the left. They're all cracking up listening to Podketeers. But on, the other days of the week, you need a book.
That's what I'm saying.
Audible's the way to go.
And do we happen to have maybe a special deal for people that sign up for Audible?
You better believe it, buddy. If you go to audibletrial.com/Podketeers, or if you just go to the Podketeers website, there's a link there as well. You can get a free trial for 30 days, and you get to pick a book, and you get to keep that book forever, no matter what happens after the 30 days. And you can cancel after 30 days. But I predict you're going to fall in love, and you will want to subscribe for the small monthly fee and keep on rolling down the road with amazing books.
I concur. I mean, I've been a part of it for so long. I don't know if you've seen this, Gavin, when you log into the app, but they just started including 21 days of meditation, and they started including like how to sleep better, all these wellness Audible listens that you can download for free. They have some workouts that you can listen to that only take a couple minutes a day. So if you're into walking, maybe during your lunch break, or you have like a 15-minute break at work, these little spurts of workout knowledge or meditation will totally help you get through your day, especially if you have one of those jobs where you're just crunching numbers or working on the spreadsheets and all the TPS reports that you need to have on somebody's desk by Monday. I mean, you never know. And if you have that type of job, maybe you need something like this. So Audible is the way to go. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the book, man. I'm glad you finally signed up, and I'm glad you're on board with it, because I love it.
Yeah.
I've always been a super fan of Audible, and any time that I can help spread the word, I will do it, because it's gotten me through many a commutes over the last 2 decades.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, in case you guys haven't had a chance to listen, or you guys are new to the podcast, we kicked off a cool new format that is going to allow us to give you a tour of the parks. Every month, we're going to concentrate on a new land. We're going to give you some information about a specific attraction, a specific part of the land, general information about the people that built it. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have an armchair Imagineering session where we're going to concentrate on something that we would like to change, or replacing an attraction, or what we think would make something better. We love those types of episodes. We've had a lot of feedback from all of you listening that that's the type of stuff you guys want to listen to, and that helps us, because it helps us create the content that you guys want to hear. So thank you to everybody that gives us that type of feedback. If there's anything that you guys want to hear about or want us to talk about, send us a message. You can either leave a comment in the blog post for the episode over at podketeers.com/240. You can also hit us up on any of the social networks. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Just search for Podketeers. All these episodes also end up on YouTube. So if your listening app of choice happens to be YouTube, because you have one of those cell phone plans that gives you YouTube Premium for free, and that's how you can stream forever, then YouTube is where you should subscribe to us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell icon for notifications whenever we post brand new videos. Otherwise, you can get us in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Dogcatcher, all those cool podcast apps. Podketeers.com, you'll see all the subscription links there as well. So this week, we're going to be concentrating on the history of one of the most iconic attractions in Tomorrowland, and that is Space Mountain.
Yes.
Melissa, break us off some of that knowledge on Space Mountain.
Sure. All right, space travelers, are you ready for those sharp turns and sudden drops? Before we embark on this story time, pull down on that lap bar in front of you, and it's time for your intergalactic space adventure.
Nice.
I'm so ready.
Should we start playing the theremin?
That would be awesome. All right. So Space Mountain made its debut on May 27, 1977. This thrilling dark coaster actually had 2 reopenings, with the second one on July 15, 2005. We'll get back to that. For now, we're going to go to 1959. With Disneyland open and the success of Matterhorn, Walt wanted a new high-speed adventure, but this time in the dark. He is convinced that Disneyland can have thrill rides and takes the first step with approaching John Hench to help create and design the concept art for this thrilling new dark coaster. The first time that Space Mountain is actually mentioned or used is in June of 1966, which is 2 years after the concept art is born. Unfortunately, Walt Disney did not get to see the concept become a reality due to his death in December of 66.
Aw.
I know.
Do you remember when we got to see John Hench's sketch of Space Mountain at
Yes.
That's from Disneyland gallery exhibit?
I've never
Oh my
seen
gosh,
you lose it like
yes.
that.
That was one of my favorite things that was there. It was so cool.
You were drooling.
Yeah, it's no secret I'm obsessed with the architecture of that building, but John Hench's amazing drawing was so cool, and it was cool to see it in person too.
Yeah, definitely.
If you guys haven't had a chance to see that video, it was in the vlog that we posted. It was the exhibit where there were some collectors that were selling everything that they had collected from Disneyland, including original sketches and posters. The video will be in the blog post for the episode, podketeers.com/240, if you guys want to check that out. Melissa, Gavin, and I had headed down to Sherman Oaks where this was being held. It was being put on by Van Eaton Galleries, and it didn't make it into the vlog. Like, you were so nonchalant about, and this is John Hench's drawing. But before that, I mean,
Yeah.
he looked like a kid in a candy store. Like, if you,
Yeah.
for you Simpson fans, if you guys know when Homer's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, that's what Gavin was doing that day. It was great.
perfect.
I loved it. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. The attraction took more than a decade to become a reality. Imagineers face challenges, as they do naturally when you're creating something that's truly unique in a smaller setting. Besides height restrictions on the structure, Walt Disney Imagineering actually had to figure out the technology and relied on Moore's Law. Moore's Law stems back from 1965 with sensors on the track and a system that feeds back data to the main computers, and in due time becomes more efficient. Talk about futuristic, right? My mind was actually blown. I learned about that.
That's awesome.
The track was designed by Imagineer Bill Watkins, including a tubular steel track design that was awarded a U.S. patent.
Nice.
So when Space Mountain opened, it actually opened as a $20 million complex with a space stage that sat over 1,000 and a Space Place restaurant that sat over 600. Among the many attending opening day were a few of the original Mercury astronauts, Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton. Due to its debut set on Memorial Day weekend, attendance was about over 185,000 guests over the 3-day period.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you meant on the same day.
I was like, wait a second. So Galaxy's Edge opened that far back?
Right? At first I did that. I'm like, whoa, when I first read that.
That's still a lot for the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
A heck of a lot.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I did the math and I'm like, that's roughly about 61,000 per day for a park that didn't have as many attractions.
Right.
Crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So, with every Disney attraction comes a memorable soundtrack that takes your experience to a whole new level. However, this wasn't the case for Space Mountain. It was after 19 years when the first soundtrack was created in 1996.
Really?
So it just
Wow.
was an attraction without music?
Not music, but like I guess you would say you would
Sound
hear
effects?
like effects,
Oh.
but it didn't have the actual complete like storyline per se.
Oh, I just learned
Okay.
something. I didn't know that. That's super cool.
So, for the soundtrack, composer Aaron Richard and show director Eddie Soto teamed up and actually created it. It was a mix of sci-fi horror and surf music with Dick Dale's fun guitar riffs and based on 1886 French composer Camille Saint-Saëns' Le Carnaval des Animaux, and I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly.
Look, it totally sounded right to me.
I tried. Now, the cool thing about this is that you could hear the French composition in the beginning of the scene for the animated film Beauty and the Beast. But if you had a PS1 back in the day, you may have heard the Dick Dale's version in Walt Disney World's Magical Racing Tour. And so while you're racing in Space Mountain level, you would hear that soundtrack.
No, what?
Oh,
Oh, I gotta go back and I gotta try to find that now.
It's on YouTube.
we're through the looking glass now.
For
this is
real?
getting crazy.
The current soundtrack we hear today is actually by Michael Giacchino, and it was replaced in 2005 with the second reopening. You may be familiar with his work from Up, Ratatouille, The Incredibles, and Coco.
I mean, you could totally hear that, right? It's got a very Incredibles vibe to it.
Yeah,
Nice.
it totally does.
Nice.
Now, did you know that Space Mountain at Disneyland is actually the second in the Disney Parks family? Magic
did.
Kingdom's own Space Mountain made its debut 2 years prior to Disneyland's own in 1975. Flash forward to today, where there's a version of this attraction in 5 Disney parks. That's pretty cool. But let's go back to Disneyland. Space Mountain had many variations in the past few decades it's been around. At one time, Space Mountain had the Goodyear speed ramp that was literally a moving sidewalk that no one really knew. There wasn't a fanfare. Inside the queue, you had openings where you could hear and the rockets fly by. That part always got me excited as a kid because you would both hear the rockets and the screamers come and go.
Really?
That was
That's
really,
awesome.
really neat.
Yeah.
In 1997, the exterior of Space Mountain was repainted in the lovely green, gold, and bronze trio to match the new Tomorrowland.
Ah, yes.
Yikes. Bad move.
I know, I remember that too. I was like, oh. However, it didn't live for that long because, of course, of the renovations that happened after.
Right, and it was horrible.
So, in preparation for the renovations, the exterior was repainted to original white appearance, and the track was rebuilt the same way that Bill Watkins had designed it in 1976. There's actually a track from the original 1977 attraction that still lives on in Space Mountain today. In the back end of the station, top of the third lift, and the storage and spur tracks. There's also a new storyline, new soundtrack, new rockets with the reopening of Space Mountain. And with that reopening held a ceremony on July 2005 with guest speaker Neil Armstrong, who also received a plaque that read, "Presented to Neil Armstrong for his courage and adventurous spirit that continues to inspire all mankind to reach for the stars." And on the plaque was one of Walt's inspiring quotes. "It's kind of fun to do the impossible."
I love it.
Nice.
Now, if we're keeping track, that's 7 astronauts who have been to Space Mountain's own ceremonies at Disneyland. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That pretty much means it's legit.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Oh,
when
yeah.
the first one showed up, it was legit.
Yeah.
So Space Mountain has had many overlays and changes throughout the decades, from Rockin' Space Mountain, Ghost Galaxy, and Hyperspace Mountain. Rockin' Space Mountain made its debut in 2006 Grand Night as Rocket Space Mountain. This was Space Mountain's very first overlay to help promote the Year of a Million Dreams during Disneyland's 50th. The original plan was to have a calmer soundtrack in the daytime and by the evening have an edgier soundtrack. Unfortunately, those plans fell through immediately and it continued to operate as Rockin' Space Mountain during all operating hours. Its soundtrack was of Aerosmith's own 1989 Higher Ground.
Nice.
It was mixed in a way where the attraction experience was heightened at every turn, rise, or drop. It starts with Joe Benson, a radio DJ from KLOS, introducing the riders to Space Stage, where the Red Hot Chili Peppers would be broadcasting live. In the Star Tunnel, there was a sound check with guitar riffs and fanfare. Going up the second lift, there was sound waves that you could see. That was really, really cool.
Wow.
And then you would see the sun going up as a nova, and then it just explode. So you're just like, what is going on? This is neat.
Nice.
I never got to see that version. That's really cool.
It was really, really neat. Especially the music, the way that they did it was just perfectly timed.
Nice.
So as you're going through this, you're passing multiple parts of the track with bright lights, like kind of, you would say they're like super bright lights, not strobe lights, but they're super bright, and it looked like to simulate like a rock show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So you would be passing, and then you would see these lights happening and whatnot. I mean, it was really, really cool. All right, so the second overlay is actually Ghost Galaxy, but it's really interesting how this came to be. In October 2007, there was a failed attempt at this second overlay. It was supposed to be Space Mountain Nightmare Nebula. Ghost Galaxy actually made its debut in Hong Kong Disneyland, and due to its success, in that same year, it was eventually brought to Disneyland in 2009.
Wow,
Nice.
so it was that horrible there, and they still decided to bring it here?
It must have been better than what they actually did.
Imagine what Nightmare Nebula was.
Right.
In case you guys don't know, I've been very vocal about how Ghost Galaxy is possibly my least favorite overlay in Space Mountain.
Agreed.
It's something.
We don't need anything.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Space Mountain's awesome.
I agree.
I'm
Can
trying
we
to be
just leave it
nice
alone?
So in this overlay, this is the first time Space Mountain gets new projections on an exterior, 6 variations of the ghost bringing a frightening show. From an arm reaching out from the inside, a crumbling structure, a big scratch on the building itself, a grid, which I might add is my favorite projection because that's the closest thing to Tron.
True.
It is. And then there's also a radar scene with heat detection. So you would kind of see the ghost inside. Like, okay, there's a presence going on. You can see it from the outside, so, which is really cool. And there is one other projection that I don't think I've seen. And it's swirling stars with the nebula on there.
I've seen that one.
I've seen that
Oh,
one.
you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not. Apparently, I blink.
I don't think they did those this year, though. They had
No?
the sound effects, but they did not have the visual projections. They just had some colored lights, is all.
Oh, that breaks
Yeah,
my heart.
I was disappointed, but those are really cool. I liked the projections.
Yeah, for me, I think those are like a highlight because for those who can't write it, they could at least watch that.
Yeah.
Or when you're standing in the epically long queue because you missed out
Yeah,
on
that's
fast
true.
passes.
You could
Yeah.
play Pokemon.
Oh, it always comes back to Pokemon Go.
There we go. Right? So inside the queue, there was no lights in some of the areas. Little blue windows of death with the screens that say either signal lost, searching, or signal established to kind of give that ghost feeling like it's taking over, not possessed, but it's taking over it. While riding the attraction, you're greeted with this dark star tunnel with eerie noise and a great way to set the mood for what's to come. Upon the second lift, you meet the ghost that's taking over the mountain. It screams, it sends electricity over you before you reach the very top. As you travel through space with the ghost, you hear it traveling alongside you, and you see it coming at you at every turn and drop. There's a startling surprise at the end that always gets to me no matter how many times I've experienced this attraction, and I know it's coming. It just happens. So, a little fun tidbit about this is that cast members have a little tradition of naming new characters on the attraction. The ghost was named Dolores.
I had no idea.
No?
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Why Dolores? Do you know?
It was just the name
Just
that
the name?
they stuck to. Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't know that. That's cool.
I didn't know it was a girl.
I didn't know either until I heard that time while working there. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, to be here and then, or working at the time, and then hearing this, dang, this is pretty neat, you know?
By the way, I'm also surprised by that last thing in there. I'm always surprised when the cameras go off. So you're right, it is a surprise.
No, that's what disorients you for the real surprise.
Right. So the third and the most recent overlay debuted on November 14, 2015 as part of Season of the Force celebrating Star Wars: The Force Awakens. It features a few of John Williams' scores from the Star Wars film. As you start your journey, you're greeted with the famous fanfare we all know and love in the beginning of every Star Wars film. A very strong start to set you to a galaxy far, far away. You also hear the X-Wing pilots as they communicate with one another before investigating the Star Destroyer, led by Admiral Akbar. Before you know it, you're jumping through lightspeed and you're in the middle of a battle between the X-Wing pilots and the TIE fighters just going at it. There are many more stars than before, with lasers and sound effects that bring this overlay into a whole new immersive level. This overlay was definitely a hit, as you often heard returning writers applauding as they returned back from safety from the battle. Hyperspace Mountain was temporarily removed on September 6, 2016, for Ghost Galaxy, of course, only to be brought back November 2016 of that year. Now, there's going to be a couple more dates, so bear with me. On June 1st, 2017, Hyperspace Mountain was removed again, only to come back the next following year on May 4th for the Star Wars Night events.
Mm-hmm.
And it had its short run until June 3rd, 2018. By far, this is my favorite overlay. And yes, I love Ghost Galaxy, but this one was like perfect.
It was a great overlay. I think it probably would be my favorite overlay if I believed it still existed, but I don't believe it still exists. I don't think we'll ever see it again.
Are you challenging Disney to change Space Mountain?
No, I'm not. I think we've seen the last of Hyperspace Mountain because Galaxy's Edge is around the corner, and I don't think they're going to detract any attention away from it with Star Wars elsewhere.
I mean,
and I think that's why, sadly, Star Tours days are numbered as well.
But depending on what the crowd levels are, there is a possibility of them bringing it back temporarily just to defer people so that the lines aren't so insane. They could do the Captain Phasma march and everything. So, I mean, look, here's hoping.
I'd be all for it. That'd be cool because I liked the Hyperspace Mountain overlay a lot. I thought it added a lot of energy to the attractions. So, yeah, bring it back. I just, for whatever reason, I don't feel like they're going to. I don't know. For me, I just feel like they're really going to want to focus all of the Star Wars attention on the land.
Right.
And,
that's true.
They may incorporate Star Wars in a parade or, something that celebrates it down the center of the park. But as far as that overlay goes, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it muddies the story too much, and now they've got a really clear, pointed, focused story that they're trying to tell with Star Wars that they never had before, right? And I think that bringing Hyperspace Mountain, it just kind of confuses that story. So I don't, unless they decide to treat Tomorrowland as like retro like 70s Star Wars, where we can go on Star Tours and Space Mountain as Hyperspace Mountain, and it's like old school Star Wars, and this is like new school Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge, then maybe, but even then that's hard to like say that in like a promotion, or like really make sense of that. So I don't think we'll see it again, sadly, because I'd like to see it again.
Me too.
I'm glad I went on it a bunch.
Yeah. So one final thing we haven't spoken about, or I haven't spoken about, is hidden Mickeys.
What?
What?
I didn't know there were any in Space Mountain.
For reals?
Yeah,
I thought I knew of
I've
one,
never,
but
I've never really studied the hidden Mickey thing, but I didn't know of any there.
From what I understand, there's 3.
Okay.
But the first one is an actual obvious. I don't know if you would call it a hidden Mickey, but it is the speakers in the rocket
Yeah.
that
oh,
form
I
a
have
Mickey.
noticed that. I have noticed that. Yeah.
The second one I haven't seen myself, so I'm gonna look for it after I saw this and I researched. I'm like, oh, so in the main center console, there's a hidden Mickey on that too.
Which center console?
On the loading dock.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's
That the cast member uses?
yes.
Oh.
So I have to pay attention to that.
Okay.
The third one is actually really difficult if you don't catch it because you're riding Space Mountain and there's like a split second where you have to look up to your high, I would say upper right, and there's these 3 asteroids that come together real briefly that form Mickey and then disappear. So that one was like,
That's awesome.
that one's a really cool one. But your eyes have to be really adjusted in order to find it.
Very cool.
Yeah. Those,
Nice.
I mean, those are the only 3 I've found so far. I mean, if there's more, let us know. That'd be awesome.
Cool.
I wanted to ask you both. Do you guys remember the giant cookie?
The giant cookie.
No.
I mean, I've come across a couple of giant cookies in my day, but what are you talking about?
I can eat several of those in one sitting.
I call it the giant cookie, but it was the giant comet that was in the beginning of the attraction.
Oh.
And it's still
I don't
there.
remember. Like once you get past the second lift, like once you get like into the ride, or where is it?
I want to say it's right before you're counting down.
Oh, okay.
And you have to turn to your left.
Oh, yeah. You're usually focused to the front or right wherever they're projecting something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's like a cookie-looking planet or asteroid or something there?
For me, it looks like a giant Chips Ahoy cookie. So I've always called it a giant cookie, but it's like so big.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I remember this from the 90s, the late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
Wow.
It's the type of thing that Cookie Monster sings about.
Oh, yes.
If Moon were Cookie.
Hilarious. I'm totally itching to go on Space Mountain now. I am super pumped. So I kind of want to piggyback a little bit here. I have a couple of trivia questions for you guys that I came up with because I've had Space Mountain on the brain as we came to this episode. So I want to test you guys and see if you can answer these questions. One of them is
John Hench.
They're kind of general questions that in which Space Mountain is included. So they're not directly about Space Mountain.
Tomorrowland.
So Melissa already hit on the theme of the first question. So as we know, Space Mountain was first created at Disney World and then created at Disneyland. Now, excluding railroads, of the 19 attractions that Disneyland shares with other parks around the world, how many of them were built at other parks before they were built at Disneyland? And can you name them?
So you're talking about whatever opened somewhere else first and then Disneyland.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Can you name all the attractions that opened at other parks?
So I'm going to go with
and
Tower
then
of
opened
Terror.
at the Disneyland. Yep, that's one of them.
Tower of Terror opened up at Walt Disney World at Hollywood Studios or MGM Studios before it opened up at California Adventure.
True.
That's correct. Tower of Terror opened in 1994 in Disney World and 2004 at California Adventure. So good job. That's one.
Are you going to count It's a Small World for launching at the World's Fair before it launched at Disneyland?
Nope. I'm only counting things at other Disney parks first.
Ah, lame, dude. I should get extra credit for that one.
Well, I mean, if you don't know that one, it's an obvious one.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
All right.
Can I say Mickey and Minnie's
I'm not counting that because none of them exist yet.
But it will.
It will. It'll apply if we ever do this trivia question again. Okay, so you have Space Mountain, you have Tower of Terror. Do you want a clue?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The next one on my list no longer exists at Disneyland.
Yeah, that narrows it down.
You could hear both of us trying to think this one out.
Dude, why are you doing this to me when I feel like this? It's no longer open. Oh, the Carousel of Progress.
Nope.
Wait,
that one
what?
just moved.
No, that one moved.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Think of the far western edge of the park.
Oh, wait. Country Bears.
That's correct. That's the third one. There's one more.
Wait, that opened at Disney World first?
Yep. It was an opening attraction at Disney World in 1971, and it came to Disneyland in 72.
I didn't know this
I
either.
thought it was
Yep.
backwards.
Nope.
Me too.
Nope. All right, there's one more, and I'll give you a huge clue here. It's a Pixar-themed attraction.
Luigi's thingy, Casa de la Fritos.
It's in the land that is our current series.
Gummy Glen.
No.
Astro
What
Blasters.
land are we talking about? There you go. Astro Blasters. There you go.
Back to
Nice.
Gummy Glen.
Okay.
Man, that was a workout.
Wow.
That took you guys a while.
My
but
brain hurts.
There's one more question. So
False.
there is one attraction in all of the Disney universe that is in all 6 world
Haunted Mansion.
resorts. All 6 world resorts.
Are you kidding?
And it's one of those 4 you just named. Which one is it? I'll give you one guess each.
I'm going to go with Buzz
There's
Lightyear.
only one that is in every single resort.
I'm going to go with Buzz.
Okay,
Buzz
Hazen's going
sounds-
Buzz.
Why do I want to say Tower, though? All right, you say Buzz, I say Tower. Roast
Final
us.
answer?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Kieran, dim the lights. All right. The answer is Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters.
Nice.
Yeah, because
Nice.
the one in Tokyo is the
was-
one being converted to the Ant-Man attraction, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at that. So
Ah.
very few of them are at, Space Mountain's at 5 of them, and very few of them even have that many. But I was surprised that Buzz Lightyear is in every single resort. That's
Dang.
crazy to
It's
me.
a popular
'cause
attraction, man.
It's not that good, though.
The evil Emperor Zurg, dude.
Like, it could be so much better.
It could.
It's a good sit down rest.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
It's a good
because-
3-minute rest after the 2 hours of standing in line. You're right.
Right.
Right. I just thought that was all interesting because, Disneyland is usually the place where these concepts are grown and then, shipped out to the other parks. And there are rare examples where it goes the other way. And I just thought it was interesting to kind of look at which ones they were, since Space Mountain was one of them.
Oh, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Also, as a plug for something that may be coming around the corner, Space Mountain was one of our finalists in March Mayhem last year.
Oh, that's very true. It was.
Yes.
Man, March Mayhem was fun.
Yes, it was.
It was.
I hear that March is coming around again this year.
I think they have March every year.
What?
I don't
Yeah.
I kind
Every
of feel like they do.
365 days.
Thought we were just getting lucky and getting another one this year. I thought it was like leap year, but March Mayhem happened last year. March is coming. We'll just leave that there. All right.
To be
Well,
continued.
I have some trivia for you then, Mr.
Sweet.
Trivia guy person.
Okay.
So we know that there was several different overlays for Space Mountain. We had the Aerosmith version, and then we had like the Claw version, and then we had Ghost Galaxy, and then Hyperspace Mountain, and of course the original version of Space Mountain. Sometimes overlays work out, and sometimes they don't work out, like you were talking about, where it was going to be what was it, Nebula? What was it called?
Nightmare Nebula.
Nightmare Nebula. So sometimes it doesn't work out. But of all of the overlays, sometimes they just happen for a season of the Force. Which of all of the overlays was the most short-lived?
Ooh, like in number of days?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
You don't have to nail the days. You could just tell me which one it was, unless you know the days, which I would be totally impressed by.
I don't know the days. I mean, my instinct would tell me it would be Hyperspace, because it just came on for short periods, but I don't know anything about the Rockin' Space Mountain version and how long it lasted. Ghost Galaxy's been going every Halloween for years. I'm going Hyperspace Mountain.
All right, Mel, what about you?
Wait, are we just talking about Space Mountain
Yeah,
overlays?
Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Then
At
it would be Rocket.
Final answers?
Yeah.
You are correct.
I should have let Melissa answer first. Dang it, that was dumb.
So
bad strategy.
The Rockin' version that had the Red Hot Chili Peppers music only ran from January to April of 2007.
Ah, man.
So there you go. One thing I do want to comment on and about Space Mountain is that I think technology is fantastic. I think it takes us to new places where these experiences really just engulf you and you can just be in a different location. And considering what was done, I mean, I think we'll eventually talk about the other versions of Space Mountain, but Journey to the Moon, which was the version of Space Mountain at Euro Disney, Disneyland Paris, was originally called Discovery Mountain. They had all of these elements in the attraction where, using blue light technology, there were all these asteroids you would physically fly by, and just all these rocks and elements from space that just, I think, took it to a whole other level. That if they added something like that to this Space Mountain, I think would really elevate the attraction. Blacklight technology, super easy to use. Projections are cool, but I think having those physical elements where these three-dimensional structures are just around the corner every time you go somewhere, I think really adds a different experience to attractions like this. So I wish they would have done something like that at Space Mountain here in Anaheim.
Sure. I think also on a similar note, where technology is great, Space Mountain is still just such a pure attraction. It's just a simple concept of a roller coaster in the dark with some fantastic theming that leads you up to it and puts you in that mind space. And it just works. It's exciting every time. And it's great when they do some projections like Ghost Galaxy or Hyperspace Mountain, but you don't need it for it to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's just a purely fun attraction, and that's why it has stood the test of time. And I don't feel like people are like clamoring for, it's almost overlay time again. They love it no matter what. It's always one of the longer queues and always popular.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Melissa, thank you very much for that trip into space on Space Mountain. I loved it. If you guys want to comment on Space Mountain, make sure to head over to the blog post, podketeers.com/240. You can also hit us up on all the social networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just search for Podketeers. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you guys think. If you guys have any trivia or tidbits that you'd like to share with us, hopefully you do a little bit better than I did today, because seriously, #fail. My head is so clouded right now. I'm happy I remember my name. So there. And that's why I'm so bad at these trivia challenges too. I freeze
Whatever,
up.
Kevin.
Dude, I freeze up on these and I'm horrible. I just can't do it. I would be so bad on a game show. I would just flub it. Like, I always remember these random facts while we're talking or while we're just having these conversations. But then when the trivia's on the spot, I'm like, false.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so bad at that. All right, everyone. That is going to wrap it up for this episode. Remember that if you guys have any feedback on what we're presenting now, make sure to leave us a comment or connect with us. You can even send an email to comments@podketeers.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like us to cover in future episodes, again, that is also where you can connect with us. And I'm excited because next is our Armchair Imagineering episode. And it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I love those episodes. So I'm excited. Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Memo to Disney, tune in. We're going to bring it.
Hashtag bring it. Is that gimmick infringement for The Rock? Because I said that? I don't want to be gimmick infringing.
I think you're fine.
All right,
You're
cool.
fine.
You're
Yeah,
good.
DJ's pretty
Long as
cool,
you
so
didn't-
it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what his friends call him. So me and DJ.
Okay.
It's like me and Bobby. Just
Yep,
speed dial.
Yep.
Text them.
Yeah, we totally believe all that. Yep.
All right, everybody. That's gonna wrap it up for this episode. So until next week, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic.
Bye, space travelers.
Major luck.
No, that's Star Tours.
Same land, same land.
Insert Finding Nemo sound effect.
Mine.